How was the break? Did anybody go anywhere? Nobody? All right, we will begin by going around and introducing ourselves. So we'll start off with our name, first and last, so I can try to get to know you. And tell me what year you're in and what your major is. So let's start here.
My name's Adam Cole. I'm a student here at Concordia, and my major is in management.
Okay. What do you want to do?
I want to go into IT, so I'm going to search right now.
Okay. Awesome. And you graduated May?
No, I changed my major from exercise science, so I'm 1 semester behind.
Okay. But maybe December.
Yeah, there's nothing.
Okay, cool. Yes, sir.
I'm Josh Wright. I'm a junior and I'm a business marketing major.
Okay. Josh, what do you hope to do?
Family business stuff.
Family business?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. You, sir.
So my name is Daniel Rivero. I am a sophomore in Concordia. And what I plan to do is probably like start my own company, or just probably help my dad manage his company.
Oh.
Since he just recently started some
Okay. He just recently started his
Yeah.
business? Do you mind saying what kind of business it is?
So my dad, he has no knowledge in business, but he actually started one.
Mm-hmm.
However, I know for a fact that he always tells me that he needs help in different kinds of things, and so I always feel like whenever I get that degree, which is like business administration, it's also
Yeah.
like, knowing how business work, be able to help him out.
To help him out. So he can own it, but you can help him manage it, right? And make it grow, Okay, cool. Yes.
My name is Sitlali. I'm a junior. I'm majoring in management also to help with family business.
Family business, yeah. How long has the family business been going?
I don't know. My dad started when I was little.
Okay, so it's doing pretty good? Okay, cool.
I'm Noah Hartley. I'm a junior here, and I'm in the business management program, and I want to use it for becoming a pastor.
Oh, nice. Do you know how you go about doing that? Like, what do you hope to do?
Yeah, so right now I'm in the pre-sem program here, and so I'm just learning languages and some theology, and then I'll take that to a seminary
Good. Okay.
and spend 4 years there also, earning my degree.
All right, excellent.
I'm Max Bittner. I'm a junior here in the business management program, and my plan is to help my fiance run an ROI investment company.
Oh, nice. That's pretty big. Interesting. Yes.
I'm Madeline, I'm a junior, and I'm majoring in business.
Nice to
And
see
I
you
hope
again.
to open up my own business someday, but I don't know what.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah,
Nice to see you again.
nice to see you.
Yes.
My name is Nicole Ramones. I'm a business management major and I'm hoping to go into human resources.
Human resources.
My name is Jessica Cornelia, and I'm a senior, and I'm majoring in marketing.
Marketing?
Yeah.
What do you hope to do?
Still deciding, just trying to work for
Mhm.
I'm Jessica Gang. I'm a junior. I'm a business management major, and yeah, I don't really know what I want to do yet.
Still figuring.
Yeah.
I'm Tyler Crater. I'm a junior and I'm also a business management major. And I'm still trying to figure it out what I'm gonna do with it.
I'm Joel Hacker. I'm a senior. My major is business management. I also want to go into HR.
HR.
Mm-hmm.
I'm Trevon Thomas. I'm a junior, business management major, and I'm not really sure either. Just start working.
Okay. Excellent. I am Dr. Ross. So you just call me Dr. Ross. I am two things. I started out in business, right? But I'm also a psychologist as well too. So I started out in business doing real estate investment on an international level. So sort of buying real estates in South America and South Africa and Europe, here in Chicago, and primarily do private equity. what is that? Well, it's usually starting funds to get a bunch of investors to go into projects together, right? Purchasing small companies, right? Majority shares of small companies, private companies, not public. And real estate investments as well too, right? So apartment buildings and complexes and things like that. One of my next projects is to try to open up a hotel chain in Europe. And it's looking at the sort of very old, sort of castle-like properties throughout Belgium, France, Italy, Spain. And it'll be sort of a luxury hotel chain, right? It's something that's in the works for me. On the other side, I was known as an international psychologist, so my other job is to go out and build programs for indigenous populations, different cultures, work with governments, organizations, so to kind of bring the psychology aspect to business as well too, right? And maybe we'll try to relate a little bit of the psychology, right? The human behavior, thought process to operations and project management. Anyone has any operations or project management experience? Yes, sir.
I worked in supply chain for an internship like 2 summers ago.
Nice. How was that? What was your experience like?
It was okay. I worked for this like manufacturing company, and I had to make the orders for the trucks to come in to make sure that they make wipes, so I had to make sure all that the products were at all the separate locations when I needed them.
Okay, cool.
It was cool.
Sounds like an interesting experience. All right, so before we kind of get into lecture and all of that, let's look at the syllabus so we know what the expectations are. All right, were you able to access the syllabus on Blackboard? Everyone, okay, cool. All right, let me see if I can. Okay, very straightforward. We will have 4 quizzes, 30 points each, right? And that'll be in week 6, 9, 12, and 15. We'll have 2 case study write-ups, so I'll provide the case, right? You'll write about that. There's 2 of those. Those are due week 4 and week 12. We'll have our final exam in our last week. And for the most part, we'll be working on that project plan. So what does that consist of? In essence, you can either create your own company, something that you're interested in, or you could look at an existing company. And we're gonna go through the various steps on how to plan to make this company efficient, effective, streamlined, etc. Right? And we're gonna come up here and talk about it. So for all of these weeks, right, 2, 4, 5, 8, 9, 12, 14, we're gonna have sort of a write-up. You could use any different programs you'd like to use. I think here I got Microsoft, for work breakdown structure. But you can use any program you like to use, but we want to have a physical representation or image representation to show where you are in the course of developing your company, right? Your company. With charts and all these different things. But I'll kind of explain that more. But yeah, this is pretty much it. So we have our project plan, our final exam, our case studies, and our quizzes. Any questions about these? All right, so let's get into it. Okay, so project management, operations, global supply chain, right? What is this all about? Well, first of all, let's think of a mindset. We want to be in the mindset so we can kind of set the class up, but when we walk in to say we're thinking in a way of being sort of an operations manager, we're thinking of being a supply chains manager, right? Or we're thinking about a project manager, right? Either we're looking at a product, or we're looking completely at a company or a part of a company. So what is the main emphasis in these fields? Well, the main emphasis is to create value. Now, value sounds very, very vague, right? Because usually all we think of is usually price and cost. But value is something different. So we want to keep value on our mind. In essence, value is to say, here is something that I currently already have. Let's say it's the iPhone, right? We have an iPhone. You're like, well, what could we do with this device that looks very similar for the last 15, 16, 17 years? How can we make customers pay more money, right? How can we make them do something, want to buy it even more than they wanted to buy the previous one, with still keeping, in essence, some of the same stuff that they loved in the beginning, right? So you say usually a product or even a company comes out with an idea, and if it's successful, that main idea or that main product usually never changes on what was the original selling point, right? So with the iPhone, it was probably the form factor, right? And the use and ease of the use, right? The user interface, right? Since they have iOS and Apple sort of manages and run its own operating system for phones. So like, well, what do you do, right? If you're a project manager for the iPhone, how do you create value? How do you make people pay more money? Well, you say you start to dissect the thing and think of, what could we add? What could we take away? Could we get cheaper suppliers, right? Could we get more profit or more money by just making who we get the stuff from cheaper? Do we add faster processing speeds, right? Can we increase the price on that so that our net income is even more than before? Do we get it out faster? Do we put it out at a different time other than September, October, right? What's the point and reason for that? What are our competitors doing, right? How are they beating us? How satisfied are the customers? What are the complaints from the customers about this? What do we do about the complaints, right? How do we essentially make things more efficient, more effective by kind of, but still keeping the same sort of principle thing about it and creating value? So we always want to think of value as something different. You can have a hot dog. You can say, how can you create value with the hot dog? Are you get cheaper relish than the relish you already had? Produce a higher net income because you got cheaper relish now? Will the customer say, you know, this tastes like crap now, I don't want this? So now your demand has went down, and now you're fired, right? So you have to be very imaginative and creative as a project manager. And also looking at your supply chain. It's like, where you get the hot dogs from? Could you get them cheaper? Could you get them somewhere that tastes better? If they taste better, then it costs more, maybe you raise the price, but that price is justified because people want them more, right? So we're looking at a few factors. Simple stuff. Are the customers satisfied? What satisfies people? What satisfies? We all buy and shop everywhere. Target, Walmart, Starbucks, Dunkin' Donuts, right? You ever been to a restaurant and you're like, man, this service sucks. I'm not coming back here, but the food was great. Maybe I'll come back again, right? But you're like, this sucks a few more times, I'm not coming back. That person running that restaurant will have to do something if the same sentiments are shared by a lot of other people. And now they're out of business because they didn't change anything. They added no more value, right? They did nothing to change, which means either fire the people who gave bad service, bring in new people, retrain the people to give better service, right? Something of the effect. So we always want to think of being creative and looking at things to make them better in the simplest form. So the class is not meant to be complicated. You know, so we'll talk about automobile manufacturers, right? We could talk about Starbucks, Dunkin' Donuts, places you go Burger King, McDonald's, right? I'll try to keep it as simple as possible. But in essence, what we're looking at is how does the operations run, right? How do we get inputs to create an output that keeps customers satisfied, and then we also make money, right? Keep them satisfied, we gotta make money, but we're getting inputs. What kind of inputs do we have? And we're creating outputs that either people love or people hate, and that's gonna affect our bottom line, or gonna affect the company overall, or the product itself, right? So we're gonna use operations to create value. That's what chapter 1 is all about, right? So the historical evolution over time for operations. So you think, well, in essence, operations have always been around, right? You think of the ancient marketplace, selling apples for oranges, right? Selling rugs and things for other things. There's a strategy, right? And the strategy is like, if you're all in a marketplace, just like we have markets in our society, financial markets, real estate markets, retail markets, whatever. In ancient times, if you hit a marketplace, you have competitors, right? And you may be selling some of the same stuff. It could all be fruits. Everybody's selling fruits, you're selling different fruits. But how do you make sure that you are performing better than the other people requires a little bit more intricate sort of planning, right? You wanna plan. What's a few things that could go wrong if you're in an ancient marketplace selling fruit and you had competitors? What could go wrong? What could make your competitors beat you? What are some things that could go wrong? Yes?
Their fruit is bigger or better.
Yeah, you're like, hey, you know what? They get more, they're selling fruit that more people can consume, right? And maybe at the same price, right? So you're like, actually, this one fruit could feed my whole family, so why am I just gonna go buy a bunch of apples, right? Let me buy a watermelon, right? That could feed like 20 people. So you're like, hey, you're selling the wrong product, right? When same market, that person's doing it wrong. They're gonna have a market share, right? They're gonna exist because people still need fruit. People still want fruit, right? They're gonna have a smaller piece of the pie. What are some other things that could go wrong, that could make your competitors sort of beat you? Yes, sir.
Maybe like environmental factors, like let's say for example there's a disease or like insects infecting like fruits or something.
Yeah, you say, well, absolutely. There's an external factor that doesn't allow the product to be given, right? To be sold. You have defective products for whatever reason, right? Environmental, diseases for certain fruits, what have you. And now your competitors have one that doesn't have diseases, right? And now they beat you to it, now you're out of business, and now your family starves, right? Your product failed. What are some things that can make you better than your competitors?
New technology.
Such as?
Like being able to have like pesticides like you're talking about, maybe not in a negative sense, but you find a better way to keep, flies and stuff off your fruits so that people buy more and they're able to produce
Yeah.
more.
Let's say you found something that could protect the product, right? And other people did. Other people in the marketplace did. You have a competitive advantage over someone because you figured something out. You found something that you can add to make your product safe, right? So in that scenario, how do people lose money? Right? You lose money in that scenario because either you don't have a product to sell, you don't have enough to sell, it's not out there in a timely manner, you have a defective product, and think we're talking about perishables. So you're like, I'm gonna take the apples home and I'm gonna let them sit for 4 or 5 days, no one's buying them, now you gotta throw them out. So now you have inventory that's completely wasted and useless. Now if you do have somebody saying between that 5 days, you're like, you know what, no one's buying them, what can I do? What can you do if no one's buying the fruit, buying the apples? What could you do about it? Lower the price, right? No one's buying at this price. You know what, buy one, get one free. You wanna try to change the demand for apples, right? So remember we said creating value is keeping people satisfied, but they're not coming to buy any apples. They're not even looking that way, cause they see how much it costs, like, nah, I'm straight, right? So you should always be thinking of, can I get it out quicker? Can I find some pesticide to protect it longer, right? And even now, I don't know if you notice, like even with some of the apples they have at the grocery store, like I've had some apples that last like a month. I don't know what they're doing with the apples, like if they coat it, like, you know, they've been adding like the wax coating and all that stuff to it, but it preserves the apple. Like maybe that's a good strategy. But we're talking ancient times and maybe they didn't find that out. But we're saying, get it out faster, change the price, add a different product along with it, maybe, necessity. Buy an apple, get an orange, right? Why? Because your competitors, you always have to think that your competitors are smarter than you, right? They're gonna do something that you're not, that you're completely forgetting about, and you say, no, I'm in the business of selling apples. What do you do? What's so special? What value do you add with your apples? You're like, nothing, I just sell apples. Other people are providing something with their apples, right? To create some sense of value. So that's what we're thinking of here. All right, and then we're also looking at describing the process view of operations in terms of inputs. So we think of, we need inputs for anything, right? Inputs is things that either help build something into a finished product or things on themselves. So if it's apples, but if it's a car, we're thinking of the thousands of parts, the inputs that creates a finished product that a customer will buy, right? So those are input. What's the processes, right? Process. Well, we say, hey, let's look at Starbucks. You go in there and get your favorite Starbucks drink. Grande Macchiato, blah, blah, blah. I don't know, it's been a while, so I'm become more of a Dunkin' Donut guy there. But we say, hey, what's the process by which you get this drink to me? Can you get it faster? What are you adding to it? Okay, we need milk, this amount of milk, we put it in the container, we add the syrup, we stir it up, do this, clean it out. There is a process by which this occurs, right? There's product that goes in it, there's an actual physical process of doing it. Write your little name on it, put it on the counter, wait for you to get it. And then you say, how do you can make that process even better? I don't know, people can order on the app now. Wonderful, that's a value. People value their time. So now they're not just coming and standing in line asking for it, you've created something unique and people value it because they participated, right? Maybe you say, hey, what makes Apple different? Dunkin' Donuts didn't write my name on the cup, but Starbucks did. Is there value in writing your name on the cup? Like, who cares? Like, yeah, I do care. Starbucks knows that, right? You personalize things. The smallest of things create some sense of value. Like, yeah, that was mine. Right? They called my name. Dunkin' Donuts ain't calling nobody's name. Right? They call your number. Interesting. Selling coffee, one person's calling the number, one person's calling the name. There's a reason. The smallest of things matter, right? They're creating value for a person. Hey, give me a medium hot coffee, cream and sugar. Give me a grande cream and sugar. Man, are we talking about the same stuff? Hey, no, we're not. One of us is talking about grandes, the other one's talking about mediums. I don't know, what is the grande is Starbucks is the venti is the large, right? You know, which is interesting. Venti means 20. But grande is really large. So that's how that really makes sense. But at the same time, you say, well, why does Starbucks have to do all this extra stuff? Because you're gonna pay for it. You're gonna pay $6 for that macchiato, whatever the case may be, right? $6, $7 for it. Because it makes you feel away, and you're gonna tell people about it, and talk about it. You're gonna take a picture, you're gonna text, oh my gosh, I got my blah, blah, blah drink, and I'm like, Starbucks knows this, right? So even with things as simple as coffee, you think of, you could take any product, and you could put a spin on it, you can add all sorts of things to it, and it's the same product. But one person's buying it at $8, another person who didn't do all that extra stuff, you can only sell it at $2, right? It's a difference. So it's a difference between Dunkin' Donuts and Starbucks because of the process, right? And the process leads to a different output. So you got a different product in some way. But it's still coffee. What are we talking about? It's coffee. But yeah, but it's a different coffee. It's coffee in a different cup, with a different color, with a different logo, a different brand that people are willing to pay for, right? It's different in the minds of the consumer, right? And we'll look at information flows. Well, you have to get things from point A to point B. So you go in Starbucks, one grande macchiato, blah, blah, blah. Well, how does that information take shape? You're like, well, you told me, that's not information, you spoke to me. Now I'm gonna speak to the employee and tell them, well, you're like, oh, that's kinda inefficient. Well, this is automatic on the screen. Shows up over here, somebody's already preparing it, cause it showed up over here. Saves you time, you get it quicker, more people coming in, everybody gets out faster, a lot more money's being made, right? Or you go the slow route. You go to a neighborhood coffee shop and you walk up, hey Jim, how's it going? Yeah, how's the kids, right? Ah, yeah, give me a, that's slow. But maybe that business is like, they're not trying to be Starbucks. But if they're not trying to be Starbucks, how long are they gonna last? Right? Because everything costs. Right? It costs. It costs to pay rent for that place, that cafe. It costs for the utilities, the lights, the gas, the machines. The leasing machines, you bought the machines, the employees, the insurance, the yada, yada, yada. Right? So moving slow is not gonna match up to all the stuff you're paying for, right? You're not gonna have a profit. You're just gonna exist. You may exist and you're still taking on a lot of debt. And so we always wanna think of, yeah, we drive down Harlem Avenue, North Avenue, wherever, and you're like, whoa, it's a ton of businesses, so many thousands, wow. There's a ton that's been here forever, and there's a ton that come and go very quickly. What happens to the ones that go quickly? They didn't change, they added no value. They had doors open, nice sign and stuff, you could walk in, get a hamburger, that's it. They didn't do nothing different. But the hamburger sucks, they never change it. The menu's the same, they never change the menu. And so the people respond and say, there's no demand here, and we're not changing anything, close your doors. Because the business has failed. It's failed because you did not change anything, right? So we think, if we look at all these restaurants, they open and close, 85% of these restaurants shut down. Why? Restaurant industry is probably one of the worst, you know, because you're talking about delivering a perishable product. It's part service, part product, right? So great service is appreciated, it's valued. Crappy service makes people go away, but you still gotta have good food. Then you gotta think of process. How long does it take for people to sit down and eat and get out of here so that other people can come and eat and get out of here, right? How long does it take the chef to make steak dinner versus eggs and bacon? So you look at all the process, and it's too kind of variable. It's kind of too, can't really pin down as much. Unless you are McDonald's, Burger King, Taco Bell, Chipotle, right? They say it's very systemized, right? We got it down, we could click it and say, okay, it takes 36 seconds to make a 2 hamburger meal at McDonald's or something, right? Same product done over and over again, like a car manufacturing plant. Why? Because it has better information flows, right? The people working there gets better information, they're able to get things out quicker, which leads to value. And then we say suppliers, right? Remember we said we can add value. A product may be new in someone's mind if it's cheaper, right? Think of Apple did that. Apple's like, you know what if we take the same phone, we divide it into 4 or 5 phones, make one slightly tinier than the other, one a little bit bigger screen, slightly quicker processing speed, and we sell all 5 of them together, right? So that it matches everybody's price point. We want to get all the demand. The people who can afford $1,600 for a phone, so get the $800 iPhone, right? But it's smaller, it's not as fast, don't have it. So you could take the same thing and you divide it, or in essence, you say you could just make it cheaper, right? You go to suppliers and you say, I got a better deal. So now we're able to take the same product and make it more affordable, and now you've created a whole new demand for a product. That's a horrible placement they get. All right, and define an operation strategy and its linkage to corporate strategy and market analysis. So we'll get into operation strategy and how we link it to your mission statement, right? Your goals, right? Plans for products to roll out, that sort of strategy. Plans for your marketing, right? And how you analyze the market for this particular product. And then also want to identify 9 competitive priorities used in operation strategy and explain how consistent pattern of decisions can develop organizational capabilities, right? So we say in an organization, we got people who are making good decisions, right? Those are the leaders, those are the managers. And those managers, in essence, make everything capable, right? Without those people, a lot of things we won't have the capabilities in order to get our product in or to create value. And then we want to look at the latest trends in operations management so we can understand how to address challenges, right, with supply chain managers in the firm. And we'll maybe later discuss the 4th industrial revolution or industry 4.0. They talk about embedding technology and automation, transforming the practice of operations and supply chain management, which is in essence just using a ton of automation and eliminating human beings in our process to create value, right? Good and bad, right? Human beings can be lazy, so maybe not such a bad thing, but machines are still machines, they break, right? Or they have mishaps. Now the textbook, has everyone seen the textbook in the bookstore? Okay, well make sure you get the textbook, you're gonna need it, in any capacity, ebook or paperback, however you want. All right, so what is operations management? What I would say is systematic design, right? Is how we go about designing an operation. Right? We talk about those inputs, how you design the inputs, right? How you design the processes for the inputs, right? How you design the information flow with those processes, how would that take shape? So in essence, you're an architect, you're a designer. You're looking to say, what is the best way to do this operation, right? Coffee shop has an operation, you come in and design the operation. You need X amount of employees, and these amount of machines. This is how you transfer the information back and forth, et cetera, et cetera. And control the process that transforms inputs into services and products for internal as well as externals and customers. So we don't always want to think of just product, we want to think of service, right? What could be some good service examples we could use that people value? Some good services. Yes.
Are you talking about services as like you can do like plumbing is like a service?
Sure. Yeah, so plumbing. What would make a good plumbing service? The person is friendly, or they maybe sold you in a way, like they were a good salesman on whatever you're gonna install or whatever. What else? What's some good service? Think of yourself, what do you appreciate in terms of service?
I know for like shopping online, you know, quick shipping or the ability to get things sooner is a service that I particularly.
Yeah, absolutely. You might hate it, it's not necessarily a product, the shipping, right, and getting it fast to you, like Amazon, couldn't get it there quick, and you appreciate that. So you say, I go on Amazon, I go on Temu, what's the other one, Shane, eBay, but they're all gonna get there, maybe a little bit different, right? Why? Because Amazon has a pretty good supply chain, right? They got the hold on it to get it there when you need it, right? You're gonna get it there quick. They got all the vans and, you know, the contract with UPS and whoever, right? They got good suppliers. So that's a great service, and you value that, you're gonna pay the extra for it. Cause you could could get it cheap on Temu, Shane, and eBay, but it's not showing up till a week later. I don't want it to show up a week later, I want it to show up now, so I'll pay the extra money. What else?
Like friendliness and attention to detail when you're getting your haircut.
Yeah, absolutely. You say, well, what's the value? Like, man, this experience, this is a wonderful experience, right? I get to talk to people, I laugh. Finished product is a haircut, right? You don't want a crappy haircut. You're like, they do a good job, but I go there, they're good people. And I also got a good environment. I like that barber shop, right? It's nice, it's bright. I like that salon, right? Right, it's a gorgeous salon in here. How's the work? Pretty good, but I really like my hairstylist, right? So you're paying for something, maybe even outside of the product. Think of Uber Eats. Like, dude, you're paying double. Why? Because you're just too lazy to go to the store, right? But you appreciate that, right? But you say, I can't do it all the time because it's too expensive, but when I really need it, there is a place in the market for it, right? So that service is appreciated. Think of banking, right? In the banking service, right? Good customer service, phone calls. Think of T-Mobile versus Verizon versus AT&T, solving problems, issues that you have, who does it best. But we'll pay more for service. And what are the inputs for that? We say a lot of times it's human capital, right? It's people, but it costs money for people. It costs money to train people to be nice and friendly and well-spoken and could solve all your problems, right? But we gotta transform that into something that customers value as a service and try to get some profit out of that. So we're looking at things internally, what could we do internally as well as external? How could we change the customers? What could we do external to change the customers? Maybe we could try to change their mind, make them behave in a different way, right? But there's methods to it. But we're looking at all that, that's what operations management is defined as. So we're essentially designers of all of this. We're thinking about all this design in this management process for operations. All right, so what's the definition of process? Any activity or group of activities to take one or more inputs, transforms them, and provides one or more outputs for its customers. So we're looking at taking inputs, transforming the inputs into outputs, right? Going back to apples, taking an apple, transforming the apple so that it could be eaten by someone and paid for, right? How do you do that? Someone comes in the design and say, this is the wrong location in the farm stand area, put it over here, put a nice sign by it, put it on the end cap, put it on the wall. That's all operations. You could just move the apple around to the best spot visibly for people to see. Like, I've transformed this as a finished product, and it's an output, right? It could be that simple, or it could be very complicated. But just like we're saying with maybe electric vehicles or something like that. Like, that's a lot of transformation in order to finally get it to the customer and for them to be satisfied with it. And operations defined as a group of resources performing all or part of one or more processes, right? So we're using resources for performance for one or more processes. So we think of the processes we talked about before, we say Starbucks, but what are the resources, right? The resources are people. The resources are the technology, right? You gotta throw the information, has to go from one place to another, right? It could be other goods. It could be the actual coffee that you're selling. It could be other things too, like Starbucks sell coffee mugs, little accessories of things, right? Anything that's part of that process. It can also be the building. So we say Starbucks is in the building. Is it a standalone building or Starbucks gonna lease? No, we decide to lease over here. Why? It's cheaper. We don't want a long-term commitment buying this building and holding on to it and paying all this insurance, paying a lot to get it, right? We're gonna lease, it's cheaper to lease. So a resource could be the building, resources could be the people, the utilities, the logos, all sorts of things, right? It all goes into it. And then supply chain management. We're looking at synchronization of a firm's process with those of its suppliers and customers to match the flow of materials, services, and information with customer demand. So supply chain really is that beginning to end sort of thing, right? Because you're looking at where you're getting it from, the raw materials to make the stuff, right? And then you're looking at how it flows, how it gets to you in order for you to start working on it, transform it into something, right? And the services along with that and the information to finally get it to a customer. So supply chain is, for the most point, you're focusing on that supply and how it gets to you. How much it costs, how quick does it get there, how reliable is it, right? How's the quality of it, right? Looking at everything that's coming in to create a final product. And then supply chain is interrelated series of processes within and across firm that produce service or product to the satisfaction of customers. Kind of the same thing. Any questions so far? So I think we're just looking at details, right? So in this class, we're just trying to be more detailed on how to slice the pie in different ways, right? We're just trying to have a vision on what are we overlooking, what could be paid attention to, what can we get rid of, etc. So here's our first figure, integration between different functional areas of a business. Right? So we're looking at the role of operations in an organization. So we think of here at the top, we got finance, right? We say it all starts with money. Wonderful idea, I got a great idea for a business. Awesome. What are you gonna do about it? Nothing. I don't have any money. Need money, right? So we say we start with finance. Need money to make the ideas come to fruition in some way. So we say, all right, you write a business plan, you go to the bank, they give you money. Or you know a bunch of private equity people and they give you the money, right? Non-banking institutions. You know some wealthy people. I got a wonderful idea, but I don't have any money, nor do I have the credit score, none of that. Ask your rich uncle, he'll give you some money. Doesn't matter, right? You need to acquire the capital, financial capital for inputs for this wonderful idea you have. Rich uncle, get a bunch of your family members, go to Chase Bank, venture capital, blah, blah, blah. But it starts here. Right? And then we have materials and service inputs. So we say, all right, cool, great idea, what are you selling? I don't know, hot dogs, gym shoes, something. Right? Doesn't matter. But you need material, you need the service inputs. Service inputs would be like people who actually sell. Right? Or you get people who do the marketing, right? Something, or people that add something to it in the process. But you also need the product too, the materials. And then we need the operations. We need to translate those materials and services into outputs, right? We need to translate it, get it from our idea to the money for it, to buying it, and trying to sell it, finally into customers' hands. So then we generate sales of outputs through marketing. Marketing is huge, because if no one knows your product exists, no one's gonna buy it. And even thinking about some of these stores on Harlem or North Avenue, you're like, what happened? They're in a crappy location and no one even knows they're existing. They didn't buy the corner lot. They didn't place themselves in the right place. They're in the middle of the block and nobody pays attention to them, right? Poor marketing. Or you say online, they didn't have proper marketing on social media or any internet sort of platforms or anything like that, right? So we need to generate sales of output, and that's what marketing does. Marketing makes it visible so that we can generate sales of outputs. And then we have our sales revenue. So we say, whoa, we sold it, great. What did you sell it as? How much did you sell it as? If I sold it for this, did you make a profit? No. Good or bad? I don't know. Maybe if you're starting out, you don't expect to make a profit. Point is to get people to notice the product, get it, like it, and so that in the future they come back, okay? And then later you start making a profit. But you wanna get that revenue. Get as many of it sold as possible so that people have it in their possession, right? Or have the experience of that service, right? They have the experience or they have the product. And we say all of that supports all of this. Well, you're like, okay, we need people to account for what happened. Take the accounting of inputs, things we get from our suppliers, people need to be accounted for. Outputs need to be accounted for. Everything needs to be accounted for so we can keep up with all the financial stuff. Taxes, all sorts of things. When we look at information systems, how do we keep track of things? We got a shipment, is it the right amount? How do we keep track of that, right? When we think of too, even like inventory, how do you keep track of inventory? Sitting on the shelf, are you sure you got it or not? Where do you know? I don't know if we got a database for it. We know it's there, we know it's here, we know it's there, wherever the case may be. But you have to have some sort of information system. Maybe it's human information systems, maybe it's automated information systems. But you need it to keep track of stuff, right? Stuff you haven't sold yet to people. Then you got your human resources. For all you HR people, what is the job of human resources? My HR people? What is your future function in these jobs? What do you think? Yes, sir.
I know like a big part of it is recruiting.
You're like, we need to hire people, right? We need to get people into the company. And not only that, you need to get good people. Not just anybody off the street, right? You need to get people who are adequate for what we need, for what we're doing here. Not everybody's adequate for what we're trying to do here, yes?
Maintaining standards within the company, so making sure the employees are up to snuff and making sure they're doing what they need to and making sure those expectations are communicated very clearly.
Absolutely. Every company has a culture, right? You have a culture at that company. Culture could be whatever, by the book, highly affluent people, but just a way that we do things here. You go work for an organization and you're like, oh, I'm qualified for the job. They're like, yeah, but you're just not the type of person. We don't think that you fit this culture, right? We're gonna be working in groups and teams on these projects. You're not a team player, right? Whatever the case may be. But you also need to be following the rules, the procedures. Are you doing something illegal within the company? You're doing something illegal outside the company, right? We have a handbook on how things should be done. Things have to be done by the rules. Paperwork, taxes, healthcare, deductions. Hey, I gotta complain to my manager. I hate my manager. I'm concerned about my job. Let me go talk to you. What can I do about it, right? Let's get a meeting going. HR serves a lot of stuff. In essence, it keeps the human aspect balanced. It keeps it going, right? Make sure the employees are happy, make sure things are not too out of whack. Fire people, hire people, give people raises, et cetera, et cetera. Very important role. And then we say engineering, right? We could kind of relate engineering to many things, but not all things. Obviously, we're talking about like car manufacturers, like this engineering is of good quality, is it of crappy quality? How do we make sure that we're creating the best product versus our competitors, right? Machines, engineering machines, getting rid of things, depreciation, et cetera, et cetera. What's the actual time?
10:50.
Okay. All right, we'll end off here. Any questions before we go? Nothing? All right, we'll continue chapter 1 on Wednesday, and I'll also start trying to get more of the content to Blackboard too, for everyone to kind of follow. Might take a couple of days. All right, everyone, have a good day.
assistant operations manager, that's what Dad used to do. I finally know what my dad did.